Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Munciana Courtside. Big week sectional play, so we got to get into this thing quickly. Mike Lingenfelter here at the always sexy Randy Gardner.
Not a bad intro.
Good looking fella.
All right. This past week, Tuesday night, we had Lake Central, Valpo. Valpo won that 3.
Tell you what, man, Valpo was talking to some folks tonight about some threats in the 4A, and Valpo came up a couple times in that conversation. Valpo is dangerous because no one knows what they're doing. But I tell you one thing they're doing: they're winning. What are they, 32-0?
32-0.
They've won as many games as anybody in the state. I think the only team with more wins than them in the state right now is LCC, Lafayette Central Catholic at 33 wins. But Valpo is dominating the North, and so that should be interesting. But like I said, Lake Central's always been consistent over the years, but Valpo really must be a pretty solid team. I think they may be somebody to watch.
Not bad. Wednesday night, Columbus East, Providence. Providence 1-3. It seemed like it was a pretty decent game, though. Once I got a little away from Columbus East, but not too bad, though.
Columbus East is, we've said it a million times, they're young. They're young. They got a couple of kids that are going to be really, really good. Their first year coach at that institution. That makes a difference. Culture change, a lot of different things going on, and we talked about it a million times. Terry Perica is, in my mind, maybe the most underrated coach in the state of Indiana. She kind of is under the radar. You never hear about her very much. You don't. She doesn't get what I think would be her due accolades. But she's a great coach, and so for Providence to beat Columbus East, I don't think that's a shock. I think beating them in 3 is a little surprise to me. But this, we said all year long, Providence is really, really good. And we said all year long, Columbus East, maybe a year away.
Yep. Lazy boy, get off your butt. Game of the week.
We both lost this one.
Thursday night. It was a loss for both of us. Fort Wayne Concordia takes down Fort Wayne Carroll in 16-14.
Summit City Showdown lived up to its acclaim. I'm glad that we called that the game of the week. You'd like to call it an upset, but Concordia, this is when they start to really kick it into gear. Over the last 3-4 years, they've been dangerous at this time of year, and they're in a really tough sectional. I mean, they're going to be butting heads with Muncie Central at that point, but they're very, very solid, and they're the polar opposite of Fort Wayne Carroll. One of the things that people don't realize is that matchups do make a difference here. This is not the type of team Fort Wayne Carroll wants to play with. Fort Wayne Carroll wants to play, your big, strong, collegiate-built type teams. And when they get into that scrap and dig or die type of games, you don't want to play teams like Concordia. No. I mean, they're scrappy, they're feisty, they're like their coach. They're gonna brawl. So that doesn't surprise me. But two great teams, and you haven't heard the last of both of those teams. Both those teams are going to be in the hunt.
Yeah. All right. This week's Player of the Week,
Lacey Adams. I tell you what. Over the last year and a half, I don't know if there's been many kids in the state of Indiana that have improved as much as Lacey does. Lacey Adams is a junior at Muncie Central High School, setter. Some gaudy numbers that she's putting up, and I'll be really honest, they've righted the ship. Muncie Central did take a big blow. Virginia Will Hoyt with the ACL hurts that team tremendously. Doesn't mean it's over, but it hurts them tremendously. Somebody's going to have to pick up a lot of slack. But Lacey Adams has really improved, and she's improved in so many ways. I constantly say, just because you can set a volleyball doesn't mean you're a setter. Lacey Adams has learned how to make her teammates better. She's learned how to control the flow of the match. She's really improved, but the numbers, I'm sure you're about to spit them out, really to send a message that this kid's improved and going further.
906 assists, 76 sets, 11.9 leads the state in sets per set, so match or whatever they're calling it.
That's kind of a bear for you to spit that out.
I know.
Sets per set.
So, I mean, she's, I think the next closest is a kid out of Fort Wayne, Carroll. I think she's 11.2, but 11.9, that's amazing.
That's a big number.
Okay.
It's a very efficient offense, and you know she's the key to that efficiency right now. She's going to be the key. She's going to be the real focal point of that if they move forward. You know, now that we're in sectional week, going to be a little bit of pressure on the young lady to perform. But this week's Player of the Week, Lacey Adams. You know, and the good news is we won't have to run Josh out to kick off against her or anything. We did have a potential kickoff.
Yeah.
We were gonna crash.
We were.
McHenry's senior night and have a potential kickoff. You know,
we still might do it the next week or two.
We might.
Some time.
We might. Word on the street is McHenry can kick it
45
yards out. And word on the street is that Josh really can't walk 45 yards.
I don't know if he can kick it 4.5 feet.
That's a good point.
So.
But with enough said, Lacey, you don't have to challenge Josh to anything. Great season. Keep it going, kid. Congratulations, Player of the Week.
All right, games of the week. I'll throw out the first couple. We won't really get into them too much detail because it's a possible thing we'd see down the road. Center Grove Franklin should be a good one. Possible final out of that Center Grove sectional.
Wow.
And the other one I'd tell you is Fort Wayne Concordia, just like you talked about a little bit ago. Muncie Central, that could be the sectional final also if they can both find a way to get there.
That'd be fun. It's a little diversity in those two teams. That would be a fun match as well.
Oh, no doubt. All right, two games. We'll go ahead and hit on them. We'll predict at that point just to knock it out real quick. Opening night, our beloved Wapahani Raiders will be playing at the Muncie Burris gym versus Westo. I think it's a 6 o'clock start, 2A first round, little sectional.
You call it. Go first.
From what I heard, Westell Setter got a little tweaked ankle. That could play a little bit of role just because she's been pretty good all year long, Spence.
She is good. She's very good.
And but I'm going Wapahani. I think Skylar Van Noe gets back on track. I know she had a little rough game the other night against Delta, but a little too much offense with her and Davis and those guys. And Hannah Smith defends just about any ball and every ball.
Well, one of the bad things about this time of year, you know, I've always told every team I ever coached that it doesn't matter what you do until this point. The key now is you just got to win the last game you play.
Yep.
The really sad thing about this time of year is that a lot of prolific careers come to an end. You know, at some point it's got to end. You come to the realization now that, you know, at Center Grove, Smithers kid is going to be done at some point. You look and go, you're looking at matches here. And you go, that's too bad. She's had a wonderful career. Or a Hannah Smith at Wapahani is going to be done. Or in this case, you know, an Alyssa Sutton at Westdale High School, a great player, is going to be done. So when you look at all these games that are potential to be played, you know, the big potential lies in whose career goes another day and whose career comes to an end and they start to write a new chapter in their career. Westdale Wapahani, I think the only option, you were made reference to Setter being a little gimpy because of the tweaked ankle, but Smalley is back.
Oh, that's good.
In the middle of the court. I think that Westdale's only real hope in this thing is that Alyssa Sutton has a career night. I mean, she's going to have to.
She could do.
She could, but she's still going to have to go through Wapahani. I'll tell you, we're not to that show yet, but Wapahani's still my favorite to win 2A. And they're playing better volleyball right now than they played all year long. They beat a solid Delta team the other night handily, and they're starting to peak at the right time. They've got a great young group, but keep in mind that young teams at this time of the year are closer to being a year older than a year younger. And so all of those freshmen and sophomores are now playing-wise closer to being sophomores and juniors and on the verge of being a veteran team. So I'm going Wapahani and a career ender for Alyssa Sutton, who's had a tremendous career at Western.
The other game we want to hit on, Floyd Central Seymour. It's a semifinal. They both run the other side of the bracket, so one game to get to that final. I'm going Floyd Central just because, you know, Bart, he always gets his guys playing well right now. He always, like you said, all year long it's been an up and down battle for him. You know, injuries and everything else. A little bit young, but I think I'm going with the Fighting Barts.
Fighting Bart's. It's hard to choose against Bart. They've had a really rough year.
Yep.
Evidently playing a little bit better now than they had early in the season.
Yep.
They've just been all over the place. I'm going to go with you only out of nostalgia. I don't know enough about Seymour to make a definitive call, but I do know enough about Bart, and at this time of year, he always tries to find it. He comes up with a way to win it. And you never know. This may be Bart's last run at it. He's hinted at moving on a couple of times, and be like John Wooden going out and wins a national championship in his last year. I don't know. I'm going to Fighting Bart Powers too. Love the guy and really would like to see him finish the season on a high note. I go Floyd Central.
The Raymond James, we wanted to hit up all four classes. We wanted to hit up which one has the best sectional for the most part.
Okay.
Let's go small guys first. You want to hit on 1A?
We went with Bethany Christian sectional with Lakeland Christian, Elkhart Christian, Fort Wayne Blackhawk Christian, Lakewood Park Christian, Bethany Christian. I'm not even sure how Hamilton got it. And Hamilton is the only non-Christian academy in that sectional, and a sectional that has 2 or 3 really good 1A teams in it. I hope that the Hamilton group doesn't get a little bit of a complex there, but that is a really good 1A sectional.
Yeah.
Blackhawk Christian is really, really good every year.
They are.
And so those guys get my nod as the best 1A sectional.
Yeah.
In a year that's wide open, other than, you're gonna have to go through, and it's kind of a religious class in the sense that that's a sectional that's pretty much all Christian schools, but really Lafayette Central Catholic and Christian Academy are still, in my mind, the best 2 1A schools in the state. So that is by far the best sectional.
Yep. All right, we got 2A.
Well, I think the Muncie Burrs section.
Yep.
Several years ago, the number 1, 2, and 3 teams in 2A were in that sectional. This got some pretty good teams in it.
Yeah.
And when you look, I thought that Alexandria was in this.
They actually moved out this year. It was with the whole reclassification.
Yeah, because if they'd have stayed in this thing, it would have been a
lights out.
That would have been fun.
Yeah.
Sheridan, LaPel, Monroe Central, who won their county, has had probably, what the hell, the best year that program's had.
$1 million man with 1,000 kills on the year.
Yeah, DiBiase. Yeah, and recent St. Francis commit. I mean, great little ball player. Cat is tremendous. Frankton, Muncie Burris, who's rebuilding. Watched their middle school team win a state championship yesterday. They got a couple of great kids. In fact, there were a couple of kids on that Muncie Burris middle school team that I'm sure Coach Mike Dottrell would like to pull up. He's got some bangers coming. So those of you that are, thinking that the Muncie Burris legend is dead, it's going to be like the Phoenix. Those guys are going to rise from the ashes, baby. The real reason you picked this sectional has got to be Westdale and Wapahani. They've been 1 and 2 for off and on all year. And I think that those two are going to go into probably the most storied facility, high school volleyball facility in the state of Indiana. The Muncie Burris, you walk in there and there's 5,000 national championship banners hanging up, 6,000 state championship banners. Pictures of Steve when he was a child up to crying. But I tell you what, that should be a great place, and you got to love Westdale Wapahani first round. If you're a Wapahani fan, the last time they played the number one team in the first round of the sectional was 2011 when Wapahani beat Burris.
I think we were there.
State champion. We were there. We didn't buy tickets, but that should be a great sectional.
It will be. All right, 3A.
The Bishop Lures sectional is a good sectional with Leo. We saw Leo the other night.
Yep.
Leo's good.
Yep.
Leo's really good.
Physical players.
Well coached, very well coached, very physical, big and strong. I still think they may be a little bit, maybe a year away. Well set, some very quick, big kids hitting on the pins and in the middle. But I was really impressed with Leo. Garrett is in there. That's who we saw Leo play.
They play opening night.
Oh,
Also the
first
sectional.
night, Taylor Smith got a chance to watch this kid play. Man, she can dish the rock. Going to Maryland, she tosses up a good ball. That is the opening night match.
Yep.
New Haven's in that. Fort Wayne Bishop Lures, so had some big wins. Angola and Dwenger. That's a good 3A.
The Wingers had a really good year so far this year. I mean, they
Yes.
took down Belmont for the first time in a while. They've had some pretty good wins. I think they might even taken down a couple of the Delaware County teams.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a good solid 3A sectional. 3A is really spread out.
Yeah.
There's not many sectionals where you get a real clump of good teams in it, and so this one's not bad. I know that Yorktown Delta
Yeah, that's another one.
would have been the other one that we would have looked at.
Yep.
Very good sectional, but I think it's time to show a little bit of love. I like what's going on up north, and like I said, watching Leo and Garrett play the other night, there's some pretty good volleyball going on.
Oh, yeah. And then we're going to get to the point in the next couple of weeks where it's regional, semi-state, and all you're going to do is have great teams around that point.
Yeah.
4A?
I think that all of the rest of these 1A, 2A, 3A could be debated. I mean,
Yeah.
you could argue, and half you guys would be looking and arguing that your sectional is the toughest sectional in the world. They're all tough. Let's be honest. Everybody's going after.
You're going to have at least one tough matchup.
Yeah, I think that Cathedral opens up with Lawrence Central, and then they got Lawrence North, and they could say it's the toughest sectional because they got a bullseye on their backside. I mean, every single school in the state can complain. Center Grove is great. They're a great team. They still scare the heck out of you. I think that they're the team I don't think you want to run into late in the season. But Center Grove's got Franklin Community, and all they've done is win.
Yep.
So every
And they got
single
Franklin Central, which had a pretty good
yes, and so all of these sectionals are tough. But I think the best sectional out of all of the classes is the Hamilton Southeastern sectional.
Yeah.
You got Noblesville, who we've said 1,000 times, maybe about a year away from being really good. And Steve Hawthorne's done just a wonderful job with that program. Westfield, been beat up all year long. All year long, trying to get Nadler Ravenel back on track. But, Michelle Mapes has done a good job with that team. And they've got guys, much like we talked about Alyssa Sutton. Huser, their little outside goes off, she can cause troubles.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she can cause you problems. It's a team with a lot of young talent. I think that Westfield's good. Hamilton Southeastern is one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the state of Indiana.
Dangerous. Right?
Potentially could be as good as anybody, and one of the better teams in the country. And what Jason Young's done there is remarkable. And like I said, has one of the top pure middles in the state by far, and Hayden Hubers, and they can dish the ball to her. They got kids that can pass it. They're dangerous. Fishers, well coached, and I think a team that is going to become really a juggernaut in this thing before it's all over. Kelly Markello's fighting the Anderson squad.
One of the best
really,
years they've ever had.
one of the best years they've ever had, and the reward is they get fed into this mess. Those guys are going to be swimming in deep water, and but I will tell you that doesn't change anything. They're under good direction. They may be moving in the right.
What sucks for Anderson is that the last 10 or so years they've been in the Newcastle sectional, which was with Yorktown, and then before Yorktown was there was Muncie Central. So you had Muncie Central and Newcastle over here. They were just
Kelly Markello is the poster child for Mountain Dew, so she's going to be amped up anyhow. But if you're going to go down, swim, you got to be swimming with sharks. Here we go. There's blood in the water here. And then there's Carmel. Matt Fishman's team is really starting to show signs of coming around.
beat a Floyd Central team this past weekend, Elkhart Memorial.
Yeah.
It's a big one.
2 teams that were at one point in time were ranked in our rankings, and Floyd Central really early, but Elkhart as of late.
Yeah.
Carmel, we talked a couple of times,
Now they're sophomores, juniors.
They're older. Bostic is closer to being older. She's the old school now. Mo Armstrong is older. Kaysen is now in her first year at Stony Brook, basically. Seaman is a year closer to being at Miami of Ohio. The Horvath kid, who's had an incredible year, is the bro. is a year older. That Carmel team, with all of those pieces, Kozlo, all of the pieces, are starting to figure this thing out a little bit. You know, and I think Fishman's starting to get a pretty good feel for what he's doing in the high school game. They're dangerous.
Yeah.
They're dangerous. They would be my sleeper in that sectional.
No doubt.
Best sectional, though, that should be a lot of fun. Every night should be a fun time.
And like you talked about, Carmel also doesn't have to go through the other side. I know Noblesville, Westfield's on the other side with HSC. I think they play Anderson to get there.
Yeah.
So they're on the other side.
Yeah, the open with Anderson.
So they're gonna be they could be in that final pretty easy. Here, Munciana.com, top 10.
Yeah,
We'll go honorable mentions first.
Yeah, we're getting close to this. Will be the last regular season. Well, this is the last one before we do the state championships. So, well, let's get it going. Let's go honorable mention. Never quite got in. Our honorable mention at all.
State championship undefeated. I think they'll get in that top 10 maybe at the end of the year.
I'll tell you right now, if they win the state championship, Lafayette Central Catholic deserves to get in 33-0. Knock down Benton Central, Logansport this week. They're always in the mix. We said this early in the season in 1A. They're honorable mention, but they win. They run the table. You got to show them some love.
No doubt. Number 10,
Carroll.
Yeah.
Following Carroll suffered a little bit of a setback, beat Warsaw, but lost to Concordia in 5. You can't. I mean, you can't drop them out of this thing. And the only reason they moved down in the first week was, Valpo took that meteoric rise up to the top. But I think that they're as good as anybody, and I tell you, they're still a team to watch. They've got a big, solid middle. They've got very good setting, and they got Jackie Quaid, who we'll talk about next week in our Under Armour, our top players in the state, Gatorade Player of the Year nominees. Jackie Quaid is tough, and at this time of year, you need somebody to dish it, and you need a star.
Yeah.
You need a 6 rotation star. Somebody's going to bang it, and you need winners. You need heart. You need kids that are just tough, gritty grinders that have heart. And Quaid's got heart.
Yeah.
Quaid's got heart. And so they're 10. That doesn't mean they can't win this thing. Point it out.
Yep. No doubt. No doubt. Number 9.
Number 9 on my list this week is Concordia. We move them up a little bit. They beat Blackhawk Christian, and they beat Carroll. Yeah. 2 really good teams. We talked about Blackhawk Christian. They're 1A.
Yeah.
But man, they're a pretty good little ball club. So Trish Miller's squad moves up to 9 on my list.
No doubt. All right, number 8.
I go Muncie Central. They beat Muncie Burris, and man, people don't remember. It's how big a game that used to be. You couldn't get a ticket in the city to go watch that game. They beat Muncie Burris in a game that's lost a little of its luster, but Central's still playing really well without Virginia Wilhoit. They've won about 20 matches in a row now. Like I said, and this is the same with Brownsburg, you can't count them out because of momentum and motivation and passion and energy plays such a huge role in the game today. University of Michigan football, they're dead in the water. They're dead in the water last year. They bring in Jim Harbaugh. Harbaugh comes in, gets everybody jacked up. He's a chest thumper. He gets amped up, and those guys have just flown up the rankings and had a chance yesterday to make history, basically. And that's all based on passion. And this time of year, if you've got great passion, great heart, great chemistry, you're going to be tough to beat. Muncie Central, for the first time in about, I don't know how long.
4 or 5 years ago.
That's pretty good chemistry. I just don't know if they can win it without Virginia Wilhoit. But they're my number 9 team and number 8 team, and I hope that they prove me wrong. I hope they move on.
Yep. All right, next on the list, number 7.
Brownsburg. Knocked down Western Boone, Mooresville, Speedway. Took down my kicker. I tell you what, you got to get a little bit of kudos for that. 28-2. We talked about them the first week of the season about the consecutive 20-win seasons, and you know, just the same thing. You lose a star. The only team that's been capable of losing a star this year and not lose its luster was Cathedral.
Yeah.
They lose a star, and once again, this is a team I tell you, I thought they were the best bet to possibly take down Cathedral. I'm not saying they can't. I'm just saying somebody has got to step up big. At this time of season, somebody's got to surprise you as a coach. Somebody's got to just grow into something they haven't been all year long. And a lot of times, kids will just get into a rhythm right now. Brownsburg finds somebody to get into a rhythm, they're right back where they were. But replacing that young lady, it's Avery Brown.
Avery Brown.
That's going to be tough. That's going to be tough. But great coaching may be able to put them through, and they got great coaching.
Number 6.
Providence.
I'm getting kind of excited, like the Rush Buster was here tonight, getting me ready for the club season, but more importantly, Providence in the state finals, possibly getting there again. I'm ready for the dads to show back up.
Oh, I hope those cats, I hope they have their costumes ready. I hope they're still doing that gig. Like I said, I'm a big fan of that school. I'm really sold on it. Like I told you, I said in the match, Stony Brook was playing in a tournament, and one of the young ladies, Taylor, was an ex-middle hitter there, was playing at Stony Brook and having a very good freshman year. And it was really neat listening to her talk about the culture of Providence and how proud they were. And, you look at it, 30-3, they're the 6th best team. Providence could lay claim to being the best team in the state in about half or more than half the states in the United States.
Yep.
It's an incredibly good program. Took down North Oldham and Columbus East this week, and they're focused on rolling. They'll take it one at a time, but they're focused on the end.
Yep.
I can guarantee that.
No doubt. Trying to get that 3-peat. Number 5.
Valpo, 32-0.
That's the big thing.
Yeah, no losses. Take down Lowell, Lake Central, and Hammond Bishop. No.
Yeah.
Valpo
Single
was,
digits in set losses this year.
yeah.
I think it's like 8 on the year.
Valpo, but the thing about it is we act like Valpo is coming out of nowhere. Hell, every year they're in on.
Yep.
Last year they were right on the edge.
I think they had a couple losses. It was only 2 or 3.
Weren't the end thing with Carroll last year?
They were in the semi-state, I think.
Carmel?
Regional at least.
It was like Carmel, them, and somebody. I mean, they were good.
Yeah, it was
Carmel,
Carroll, Elkhart Memorial,
and Valpo.
Valpo.
Jesus, we probably didn't call that the best regional, but we probably screwed that up.
Yeah, we did call it regions last year.
That's tremendous. That's tremendous. And Valpo, number 5. Congrats. Good luck to you.
Yep. All right, number 4.
Center Grove. I tell you right now, if you had to pick a sleeper, keep in mind Hamilton Southeastern is been at the top for a while now.
Yep.
If I had to pick somebody that's out of my top 3 to win the state, that's in 4A, I'm going Center Grove. They quietly. Keep in mind they've been beat up. Yeah, Middle was out with an MCL. I think may still be out. Center tweaked herself.
Yeah.
Was out. And they quietly, marched through. Ron Collins started this week, 28-5. I've said it a million times. Dana is good a coach as there is in the state. It's off the charts. Great coach, great staff, and they got what it takes to win championships. They have a great center, and they got a banger.
It's neat.
They got a great center, and they got a banger. And those two could do a lot of damage, and they're dangerous. Don't sleep on them. That team, I was talking tonight, that could be a potential semi-state showdown with them at Cathedral.
There's nothing better than semi-state. That's always, if you remember it. Usually it's the Avon, Center Grove, Cathedral, Floyd Centrals.
When you look at it, that's
nothing better.
That's beautiful. That's keep an eye on
That's
Center
your
Grove.
money's worth right there.
Keep an eye on Center Grove, my number 4 this week.
Number 3?
Yorktown took down Griefbelt Central, took down Muncie Burris, took down Shelbyville. They'd taken down almost everybody. They had the one hiccup where they went down and lost to a hot Muncie Central team, but Yorktown.
I think they continued the streak too. I think they, with that win this weekend over Shelbyville, they won conference again for I think fifth or sixth straight, which is always a solid conference with New Pal and Delta and all those guys. And you added Newcastle last year too. So
That's the only thing that they're going to have trouble. The hardest part for them in the conference is trying to figure out who is going to get accolades from Yorktown. Yorktown may be the most balanced team in the state. The time that Knuckles went down, everybody else went up in that team, and so now Arrington is really dishing the ball to everybody. I mean, they've got a real balanced attack. It's a team where there's an awful lot of people that think maybe one of the best bro candidates in the state of Indiana doesn't play. There's a freshman there named Murr that would start for 95% of the high schools in the state of Indiana. I'm not kidding you.
Yeah,
other than a couple of these teams on this list, Kylie Murr starts.
Yeah.
And you know what? Steph Bloom can legitimately say that she's got 3 kids in front of her that right now deserve playing time. You look at them. Jade York's having a career year. I couldn't be prouder of where that girl's going. And she's growing up in a hurry, and she's having a great year. Apple is the most consistent player. Ball State recruit, one of the most consistent players in the Munciana club. Always consistent. You look at
got Rosenthal too.
Bella Rosenthal she could be the next bro at Bro U over there. They're loaded in there. You look at it, all those guys I've talked about are bros on any other high school team in the state of Indiana, and then there's a freshman behind them all.
Yep.
That is going to be really, really good. So, this team is loaded. It's figuring out how they're going to disperse the awards this season is going to be hard. But
maybe just pick names out of a hat.
You know what? Knowing Steph Bloom, there's only one award she wants.
Yep.
And it's the one they hand out at Worthen on November 7th. That's the only one she wants. She doesn't give a crap.
Nice little blue necklace.
Yeah, she's got a couple. She does like that necklace.
All right, number 2.
Hamilton Southeastern. Take down Perry Meridian, a very athletic team. And Jason tells me that Aiden Hubers just blew them up, threw out some crazy gaudy numbers. 18 kills and a 3-setter. Nice stuff.
Yeah.
A very athletic Perry Meridian team in McCutcheon, a team who has great history. If you know your volleyball history in the state of Indiana, Lonnie Worthington's McCutcheon teams were as good as anybody at the end of the day. McCutcheon does have a storied history, but Hamilton Southeastern really didn't respect it a whole lot this week. They reached the 30-win mark, and for Jason Young and his team, that's a huge goal reached. But much like I talked about Coach Steph Bloom, Jason and the gang, they got one goal.
Yeah.
It's November 7th. Yeah. And at this stage of the game, the Hamilton Southeastern guys have to shift gears and win the last game they play. And they better start playing right away because that sectional, as we talked about, will get you ready.
Jason did say, if you remember last time we watched their game, the 2 losses they had, Kiera Jones was not there. They're undefeated with Kiera Jones, so this is on Kiera. She's got to make sure she's out of the game to finish up the year.
You better make sure Kiki shows up. I had a pretty good career when Kiera was with me too, so Kiera has a habit of making guys like Jason and I look good, but Hamilton Southeastern number 2.
Number one in everybody's hearts over there.
Well,
Prep volleyball, Max Preps.
We can keep rolling again.
Munciana Courtside.
Bengals win.
Question is,
Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
They're
win.
one ranking away from keeping the ranking from the start to the end.
Well, we talked about it a couple of times. You quizzed me.
I held away from it.
But it's really weird. I was talking to Anna Jensen tonight, who's really a neat young lady. The only thing she continued to talk about, and I'll tell you what's really cool about this Cathedral team, she continued to talk about how great their chemistry is and how much they get along. There's no really crazy swagger or arrogance or we're number 1 in the nation. Half the teams in the country, if they're the number 1 team in the nation, their kids are wearing those foam finger things to school.
Looking a little more like a Fab 5 team.
Nah, these guys right here, they get it, and they are in a rhythm. Right now, the biggest thing they've got to fight is complacency. I've heard multiple accounts. People said that that they came out really flat against Cardinal Ritter, and Gene Kesterson helped them get rid of their complacency, and then they came back the next two sets and bombed away. The only thing that could hurt them is a complacent attitude. They've got to have a sense of urgency about them that every single opponent is the best team in the nation. I made reference, they got to be the more desperate team, meaning that every time they step out, they've got to play harder. They've got to find a reason to, be concerned about their opponent.
Yeah.
And they've got to play with a sense of urgency and with one heart. If they can play with one heart for the rest of the season, I don't know if you beat them. Audrey Adams goes out, has a huge injury. They adjust, and they're the only team in the state of Indiana that's deep enough to offset that kind of injury. And and they, in a couple of ways, it even made them faster in certain spots, which is even more dangerous. I think the bottom line with Cathedral, as long as they pass it, they're going to be tough to beat. And like I said, we said early on that it may be impossible to pull off, but that's. They said it was impossible to put a man on the moon too. So, good luck to you. Gene Kesterson's team starts the season at 1 and ends the regular season at 1.
Yep.
Going into sectional play, and the beautiful thing for everybody in the state, everybody's 0-0, and you got to win your next game. You just got to win your next game.
Everybody's going to have one loss at the end.
It's easy. It's easy. Just win your next game. Trust me, it's a blast. But
right before we get out of here, do you want to hit on maybe a little bit of this past weekend here? 7th grade, 8th grade state champions.
We did. We have it's amazing. It's dirt cheap. It's one of my favorite events. I really love two things that we do in the Munciana thing. And most people would think it's about chasing national titles. For me, it's not. This weekend concluded our volley tots and mini volleyball guys. We had about 60, 70 little 4-year-olds to 6-year-olds. It's the time of my life. It's really where I'm at my best. We had mini volleyball, which is like 6-year-olds to 8-year-olds. We had about 40 or 50 of them, and it was beautiful. Those guys came in yesterday. Saturday, we had one of the neatest events we do all year long. We do a kickoff event. We do a free coaches clinic with the kickoff event. And then at the end of the year, we do what we call the state championship, middle school state championships. And teams come in, and we had tremendous amount of teams from the South, which was really neat to see. This year, our 7th grade state champion was Newcastle, led by Mabry Shaftmaster, about 6'2", left side hitter.
Bombing.
It was just bombing, scoring out of the back row, front row. It was really, really neat to watch. And they had a great match against an Emmanuel Lutheran team from down in Seymour, Indiana. And this team had a little girl named Reynolds that was blowing it up, and the coach's kid, Cameron, was a great ball player. I mean, just really, really fantastic volleyball. The 8th grade state championship, not to be sappy, brought a tear to my eye. It was Muncie Burris, 8th grade, played against Newcastle's 8th grade. A really feisty Newcastle team. Got beat by Muncie Burris. The thing that was really unique about it was Don Shondell, a legend. He's in the Hall of Fame. He's second winningest coach in the history of the game. Wins his first ever middle school state championship. And as I hugged him,
jacked up.
He was jacked up. It's beautiful to see that. And I told the coach after it was over, it's never too late to add to your resume. This guy's resume, there's not enough trees in this country to create that much paper. He's a legend. He's beautiful, and he's the reason I'm sitting here. And I love him. And that was our middle school state championship. And great volleyball. The future for a lot of teams is really, really bright. The level of volleyball being played in the state of Indiana is off the charts. those of you that get a chance, go out and watch it this weekend. This week, you got a full week of volleyball, and you got some great filled games coming up. And until we see you next week, have a great week. Stay out of trouble, and God bless all of you.